Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's digital event, entering into D5 Render 2.9. I'm Sam Anderson. I'll be your host today. And I just first want to thank you all for taking your time to join us for our event. So in our event today, we'll be covering a lot of different elements, but I first want to introduce you to a few people who are key behind everything here at ArchVision. So we have Corey, the CEO, and Kelsey, the wonderful sales operations manager, who will be on the call today. They are here assisting in the back end of things. So if you have any questions at all, please feel free to put anything into the chat. We will do our best to address them and get you any answers that you may need. So as I mentioned, I'm Sam Anderson. I'm a technical marketing consultant for ArchVision. I come from an architecture background and then started moving into real-time rendering. So I help businesses produce a wide array of different things, but many of them are technical marketing. So helping showcase products, whether it is in one program or another. So I will let you know that I do have an Unreal Engine and Twinmotion background, and this is where I am coming from. But with the excitement and everything going on with D5, I wanted to dive in. And so that's what we will be taking a look at today. We'll be looking at those new features and kind of understanding how they are assisting visualization and how they can help improve your workflows. So I'm going to go ahead and dive in. I'll let you know what we are up to today, and we will try to cover as much as we can. If we have some time at the end, I'll show some additional tips that I've learned along the way, as well as have a Q&A. And if we have some extra time, then maybe we can just explore together and take a look at these tools. I guess I do have a question for the audience out there. So I would like to know if there are any brand new users to D5. So if you are, I would love to just, if you want to put in the chat, if you're a new user, if you're an experienced user, no pressure if you don't want to, but that will kind of help me understand how to talk about the program. Now, I will first start with the why ArchVision. So you are here because you've either heard about ArchVision, maybe you saw it on social media or some email. I'll talk about why ArchVision and D5 come together, as well as all of the different tools and offerings of ArchVision. We'll talk about why you might want to use D5. And then we'll start to dive into the new features together. So let's go ahead and get started here. So first off, why ArchVision? So ArchVision is a reseller of D5, and truly the team behind ArchVision has such a broad experience of all visualization tools, and it is the one-stop shop for many of those tools. So as you are designing, whether you are in architecture or automotive, you are probably using a bunch of different tools. And within that, it can be a little overwhelming to keep track of everything, especially for someone coming from the IT side. So making sure that you have all your ducks in a row and have all those subscriptions and everything. And it can be very helpful to just get all of those places from one place. They also have the ability to provide support for you as well. So this is ArchVision. We are here to help support you and provide resources as well. So with the digital events, our intent is to help make sure that you are aware of the latest updates, learn how to use the tools, learn how they all fit in with each other, and then you can always refer back to them on YouTube as well if needed. So we'll go ahead and take a look now at why D5. So as I mentioned, I do have a Twinmotion Unreal Engine background. I also use Enscape. So I used to work at Shop Architects, where I kind of really got exposure to how each of these tools fit in within the architectural workflow. And then moved to Epic, where I kind of dove more into the Twinmotion Unreal side of things. But there are so many different offerings out there for visualization artists. And so it's very important for us to all understand the benefits of each. And so today I will be speaking about D5 and why one would use D5. And so as we go throughout the demo, I'll be calling out some of the benefits and some of the things that I have noticed over time that I think that are very, very beneficial to users. So we'll be talking about those as we go. But this is a premier visualization tool for people wanting to get up and running to create storytelling and beautiful visuals quickly. There is a whole nother level of innovation that DeFi is including inside of their tool set that I think is going to be very powerful for so many creators. So as I mentioned, there are a lot of advancements in D5 and they are putting out new content so regularly that it's exciting as a creator to see all the different benefits that come with each one. So you can see over the last few years that they have put out several new D5 render versions, and so 2.9 just came out recently. So that's the one that we will be focusing on today. Now, these images here that you're seeing are great examples of the different quality that we're getting with D5. And I have a few more for you here as well. So as someone who has done a lot of work in visualization, I do want to note that these are getting some of those aspects that traditionally were very hard to get. So you're seeing some of that atmospheric fog, you're seeing some of the light flares coming into the scene. It's just a really beautiful representation of all of these projects in a photorealistic way. And then the very cool thing that if you have time at the very end to take a look at, that you'll be able to see how you can differ from the photorealism as well, in case you want to go to something that's a little more stylized. And that's where some of the AI elements come into play, so that if you don't have the experience to or want to like take it into a post-processing tool, you are able to customize it on your own directly inside of D5. So with that, let's go ahead and get into some of the updates. So when you open up D5, it is going to give you a tour of how to use it. And then they also will let you know once you open it up with the new features, will give you some idea of what that looks like. So they now have the terrain, which is awesome. So we'll take a little bit of a look at that. There are some additional videos online on YouTube that go more in depth into showcasing how you can use scatter with the foliage inside of the tool. So I will refer to that later in the program if needed. We also have the phasing animation. This one is very cool in my opinion. It allows you to get very creative, almost having like a motion graphics feel to the architectural storytelling. So whether it is construction, whether you just want to make it animated and really bring some fun life to the project, you can either be very upfront with the construction of this is step one, this is step two, this is step three, or just being able to have a beautiful animation that is very animated and bringing different elements in. Now, there is a video that D5 just did with the webinar for Oliver, and I can showcase that here in a moment as well, but that goes into a little bit more detail of how to set up the layer structure to bring this in and make that animation display. So we won't be covering that today, but I do want to note that there are resources available for you if needed. Now, we will have time for the post AI, I hope, so that this is what I was referring to, that you have the ability to use the AI technology that D5 offers to be able to showcase the different rendering styles. So we'll take a look at that here later on in the digital event. Now, there also is the placement. So now you have the ability to do random spacing within. So this gives you the next level of customization, bringing the realism to the next level. We'll take a look at the enhanced performance. So this one will just kind of be a quick tip of where to enable that. And then we will take a look at the D5 sync for Blender and also take a look at the asset library assets. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and jump into D5. And as I mentioned, I am coming from a little bit of a different background and visualization tool background. So I know that we have some experts in the house here. So as I'm going, if there's something that you see that, hey, you could do that this way, feel free to put that into the chat. I want this to be a very collaborative session where we're all learning from each other. And I think that's one of the amazing things about D5 is that, I was able to jump in, learn it quite quickly, and continue to learn it. So there may be elements that that you all may be able to help me with. So I would appreciate that. And I guess, to give a little bit more information about the model itself, we did want to really push the limits and understand what does D5 look like with a real Revit model. So this is a ArchVision Revit model. that the D5 team wonderfully created and built out. So we are working with this. We had another digital event in which we covered 2.8 that is on our YouTube if you would like to check that out as well. So Jeff from the D5 team went through all of the different features there featuring this model. So we'll be using this again, and I do want to take a moment just to talk a little bit about the UI for anyone who is new. So I did see that we have um, a newish viewer in today. So welcome. I would say I love when we have new people who are new to programs. I think learning the different programs will be very helpful for all different facets of careers and understanding like how to approach different user interfaces in each program. So here in D5, we have our pretty basic file formats importing up at the top. We'll come back to the assets here in a moment. But one thing that I do want to know for anyone who may be new is this little icon here with the stars. So this is going to be all of the AI elements that are included inside of D5. So for someone who is exploring D5 for the first time, if you ever see this, I'd say go ahead, click it, explore it, play around with it, because this is one of the things that is putting D5 ahead. It is really having some very innovative, amazing work that's being done for the AI elements. So anytime you see this icon, you can see there's one here on the right hand side of the screen. You see there's one here as well. And whenever you hover over anything, it will have some tooltips showcase how to either tell you what it's called or help you out a little bit understand what the tool is. So here up at the top, while I'm over here on the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see that we have some media options. So we'll get to these at the very end of the presentation today. And in the middle of the screen, these are the different elements that we'll be bringing into the scene. So midway through, we'll add some terrain here, but this is going to be kind of the top of the toolbar is where you will be bringing elements into your scene. The right-hand side is going to have your environment in effect. For anyone who does have a true motion or Unreal Engine background, this is going to be similar to the post-process volume and the ambiance. So you have all of your different settings that you can set here to get that vibe, look, feel, environment, fog, precipitation. All of that is going to live there. And then you can save those different elements and scenes. So these scenes can have different times of day and different environments there. Down at the bottom, you'll have all of the elements that are brought into your scene. So you'll see here as I'm working around, I'll be using some of these different user interfaces to organize and work through the project. Then at the bottom, you'll always have these kind of tooltips for how to use the tool. So as someone such as myself, I'm not an expert in D5, so it was very helpful for me to have that down at the bottom so that I can get used to all the ways that one would work with the program. So to get started, I am going to showcase some of the customization and optimization elements that are in 2.9. So if you go to the top of the left-hand side of the screen, and hit this file button, you will see that you have this FPS booster for complex geometry. So this I enabled, so it wasn't turned on by default, but I went ahead and enabled it since I am working with a large project. And this is allowing the back end of D5 to optimize it for you. So it may not show you exactly what's happening or how it's changing, but for anyone who is working with large complex projects, you can turn this on to help optimize your scene. Now, also up here on the left-hand side, if I select this assets, a window will pop up. Now, I am signed in already. If there is nothing that is popped up, you may want to sign in. You can do the same thing by going up to File and then sign in to your account here to make sure that you can see all of your assets that are available to you depending on your account. So here I have a lot of materials here. There have been some new materials added as well. And one thing that I do want to showcase is some of the characters that have been added. So there are some elderly and children tag. And this is going to have all of the new assets that have been brought into D5. So this will allow you to take a look at some of those assets. Now, something else that has been added into D5 is the the details for each of these. So if you go up to the little icon here, the more icon here, you can select that and then turn on show or hide details. There's also a keyboard shortcut for this as well if you would like to utilize that. And essentially, this allows you to be well informed of the size of the assets that you're bringing in. So just making sure that, especially as you're working perhaps on your own local or team assets, then making sure you're not bringing in something too heavy that's going to bog down your project. So now that we have taken a look at these assets, we can now take a look at how some of these assets can be further customized inside of the project. So I'll close out of this window here, and I'm going to take a look at some of these trees. So you'll see that these trees are populated in the model, but say I wanted to change the look of them, like maybe they're all the same height and I want to mix that up a little bit. I'm going to go down to the bottom left-hand side to select all of those. And then back on the right-hand side, you'll see that there are a lot of different icons here. So you can hover over them to get the tooltip and make sure that you understand what each feature is doing. But here I could start to select random size. I can rotate them. And it's going to allow me just to really, oops, I didn't like that one. I'm going to just Control Z that. But it's going to allow you to really customize some of those elements just to give them a little bit more life so that you can quickly populate, select them all, and then randomize them if you would like. So there are also a lot of different features here that if you want to control where they live in the coordinates, you always have the ability to do that here as well inside of the inspector. Now, if you wanted to do this with a path, so if there is a path that you're creating a foliage, you can do this as well. So I'm going to hit T on my keyboard to go to the top view here. And you'll see we have a nice little plan view here. And I'm going to select the tree here. So when I select this tree, you'll see that I have a vegetation path selected. And on the right-hand side, I have the ability to do some random spacing. So I'll zoom in just a little bit here to get a greater look, and then I can control that spacing. And it's a small element here, but you can imagine as you are building something out, being able to just mix things up a bit really helped to bring some life to the project as well. So these were pretty simple yet useful updates to the projects to make sure that they are developing and better creating better realistic environments. And so I hope if you haven't used this before that you would update to 2.5 or sorry 2.9 and be able to use them for your projects. So now that we've taken a look at those, I'm going to go ahead and transition to the terrain. So in order to do that, I'll just go back up to my scene. And I'm actually going to hide some of these elements so that I can quickly build out terrain. So here I have hidden all of my geometry, and I'm going to go up to the top toolbar, go over to the right-hand side, and there is a terrain icon here. When I select this, it is automatically going to pop in a grass plane into the scene. And on the right-hand side, you'll get all of the different tools in order to work with that landscape. So you can start to paint by selecting an icon. And you'll see that once you click on your screen, you'll get a little circle that is going to be your paintbrush, and you'll be able to start painting along the scene. Now here, if you wanted to customize it further, you can always select this brush texture. This is going to allow you to have some assets and brushes ready to go. What I love about this is that it already comes with these brushes that I could select one and then start to paint here. And it's just going to make it look a little more realistic. Now, you could take this to the next level if you wanted to by bringing in a height map. So as you look through all of these different tools, you'll see that you also have some height map resources. So if I select that here, hit that plus icon, it's automatically going to pop up with the window that has some assets that you can bring in. So you'll notice that as I hover over these, some of these have an arrow. This will allow me to download anything. And then it will give me a green check mark letting me know that it's ready to go once it's downloaded. So I'll go ahead and take a look down here. I'm going to bring in one of these. I'll bring and drop in this hill. So I've just selected it. I'll close out of this window here, and I'm going to place it in the background. So say that the project that I was working on is in Denver. It's got mountains in the background. I can place that in here, and you'll have another window pop up that gives you some options of how to work with the tools. So you can play around with some of these settings. Some of these may be a little more subtle than others, but as you get closer, it starts to become very helpful to have. So one nice thing beyond this is that you have the ability to paint and manage the assets as well. So if you wanted to bring in your own height maps, you could do that here. And with the paint tool, you can start to really customize the terrain and start to paint different materials and if you wanted to. Now, additionally, if you select this terrain texture icon to the right, it's going to pop up with the same window we were working in, but it has a material template that you could use further. So at the very end of this, I'll probably make this into a snowy scene just as we're entering December here. But when I select one of these, you'll be able to apply it to the scene. So say I know that I want this to be a snowy scene later on, you could start to switch up the environment and the look and feel of your terrain by doing this. So now we've got a full white winter. It's a blizzard out there. It's all white, but that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and start to turn on some of the other elements so that we can start looking at, how we might further build out this scene. So I'll go ahead and close out of this window here, and I'm going to turn my objects back on. So now we have this nice snowy mountain in the background. At the end, we'll turn this into a snowy scene to take a look at. So next, I want to showcase the Blender sync. So what this is going to do is allow you to be able to develop in Blender and sync that file with D5. And there's some cool features there that I'll talk about that I think can be very helpful. What's nice about this is this project already has a lot of models inside of this, and you can truly start to aggregate different models. So the one that I will be showcasing today is a very small Blender file, but it'll allow us to take a look at some of the settings that you can utilize with your D5 model. So in order to get that going, I will go ahead and open up a Blender file. So this is a very base file. I have gone to the D5 website and downloaded the Blender D5C. And what I will be able to do then is go up to Edit, Preferences, and we're just going to make sure that it's enabled. So in Blender, this is going to be the add-on section. So it'll take a moment to open up here, but once it's open, you'll want to make sure that you have this add-on selected here. I already searched for it, but when you select add-ons, you'll see that there are a lot of different elements here. You can go up to the search bar, type in D5, hit enter, and you'll be able to turn this on by hitting the check mark here. So you'll see that the check mark, you might get an error here. And this is because we just need to map this to the roaming folder instead. So I'm going to map this to roaming, hit accept. And then it might take a moment, and then now we are good to go. So now that you have that, you'll just want to make sure that you save those preferences. You can close out of this tab here. And you might be like, where is my toolbar? So in order to showcase that, you'll want to go up to the View tab at the top, and you can select this sidebar here. And then on the sidebar, you'll see that there is a D5 button or tab here on the right-hand side. So when I select this, you will see all of the options that you have. So you have the ability to export to a D5 file if needed. This is going to be great if you need to simply send something. If you're working on Blender and you need to send it to someone else who's going to be taking it into D5, you can do that this way. You also have some synchronization options here as well. And you'll see that you have some control over the texture resolution, which is great for optimization. So in order to showcase this, I'm going to open up a file. Now, this is going to be a file that I got as an RPC. So this is an RPC asset from ArchVision, and I use Phobia to be able to export that or download it as a Blender file. So this is an asset that I could use inside of Inkscape, inside of Unreal Engine, and now I have it as a Blender file, and I'll be able to bring it to D5 using this live scene. So you'll see we have this truck here in the scene. And I am going to hit this sync button. So this is going to allow me to sync to the D5 file. So I'll go ahead and select D5. And you'll notice that a window has already popped up. It's asking me how I want to bring in the file. So I'll go ahead and keep this create a new link model and select create. So you may not see something immediately, but it has come into the file, and you'll know that by going down to the bottom, you'll see that we have this phobia truck down on the bottom left-hand side. So in order to take a look at where that is, I'm going to hit T on my keyboard to go to the top view, and I'm going to hit Z, and that's going to zoom the viewport into the asset at hand. So you'll see that was at 000 inside of the Blender file. So you can't see it here because the other project is on top of it. So I'm just going to change the location for some of these. So I'll move it here. So I have already tested to where this should be. So I'm just going to type in the numbers here for ease. And then I will hit Z again. And now we see the truck is on the road now. Now, if we want to take a look at some of the features that Blender offers, let's go back to Blender. And we'll explore some of the elements inside of Blender. So same thing works for Blender here. So if you are hovering over each of these icons, you'll be able to get little tips about them. But this Sync with D5 render will allow you to make sure that your changes as you're moving them are going to sync with your D5 project. One of the things that I think is really helpful is that you're actually able to sync your cameras. So this can be very helpful, especially as someone who does a lot of visualizations for architects. Many times they are working inside of a modeling program. They already have their views selected. And sometimes it's hard to fully represent those or camera match inside of your rendering program. And so it's nice that you are able to send those cameras over. Now, one thing that's also nice about this is that I can do a view sync. So essentially what this is going to allow me to do is the view I have on the screen is going to sync with D5. So when I select this, we'll get a nice little, I'll try to do a dual screen here so we can take a look at it. But we will be able to see the two programs have the same view. So this will be nice, especially for anyone who is wanting to work with a program either side by side if you have two screens open, or just making sure that, as you're working, it provides easy navigation inside of the D5 when you're working. So that's one of the features that I think is pretty helpful for me as I work with clients to kind of understand what's the best workflow for that. So additionally, you have some settings here. So you'll be able to take a look at the changes that you've made, the materials that have been changed, and then some additional bake materials information here. Now, on the website for where you download the D5 plugin, there is a video there provided by the D5 team that goes into a little bit more information if you are an avid Blender user and want to make sure that your materials and everything are in nicely inside of D5, that will be available to you there. Okay, so now we have our Blender. We've checked out our file inside of D5. I'm going to go back to D5 and we will continue to work with this model and start to take a look at some of the AI elements. So first, I do want to create a snow scene. So I'm going to come back to my summer view here. I'm going to create a new scene by selecting this plus icon at the top. And I'm going to right click, select rename. I'll type in turf here. And now I can start to change the environment. So I'm going to go over to the environment tab on the right-hand side and scroll down to where it says precipitation. I will toggle this to enable it on, and I'm going to turn on the snow. So we have some nice snow going here. I will refresh this just to make sure that it retains that snow scene. So now we have a nice scene here that we want to work with. So one thing that is really nice that I've mentioned a few times are the ability to enable AI. So as part of this, you may have explored the AI enhancer in D5 in the past, and we're going to take a look at some of the post AI elements that are available for you to use. So Here I have a history of, I've already rendered out one of the images. And so I'm just gonna take a look at some of the options that we have here. Okay, here we go. Sorry, there's the AI post-processing. There's that purple icon that we can select. And then you'll see that we have our source. This is the summer rendering that I've rendered. I'll go ahead and click on that. And it is taking a second to upload. But one thing that I wanted to test and play around with is changing this to snow with AI. So over here on the right-hand side, I encourage you to explore a lot of these elements. So if you kind of just click on each of these, you'll start to see some of the options that you have. What's really nice is that with each of these, you have the ability to curate how much influence that the AI changes the scene, which I think can be very helpful. And the one that I was testing out most recently is this AI style transfer. So I'll go ahead and click on this, and you'll see that there are a couple of different options here. So many times in architecture, as you are developing scenes, you may not be ready to showcase all of the materials to the client because sometimes if you show that too early, they may only fixate on the materials and they might be like, that's the wrong color brick. I don't want that brick when you simply want them to look at the design, the massing, the shapes. And so this is where you are able to kind of explore some of these different styles very quickly by applying them with the AI tools. Now, another element you have here is this realistic. And so there is actually an option for winter here. So this is the one that I was exploring. So using this tool to take a look at how you can convert and use different elements or different processes to have the same information. So for instance, if you are working on a project and need to quickly create different seasons for a competition. You could go in and create the 4 different scenes and change the weather for each of them and export them. But one thing you could do too is have one image and then change it through AI to get some of these different seasons here. So I'll go ahead and select this AI style transfer, and it may take some time to do its work. So with this, I'll talk about some of the other options that you have here. So honestly, I'm still in my exploratory like phase of this, and it's been very fun to play around with each of these and understand the control and power that you have for each of the features and each of the different types of AI processing that's happening. So while this is going, I actually went ahead and made sure that we had access to this. So if it took a little bit of time, I have it here. So I'm just going to jump to the space where I have it, and we can take a look at what happens. So here I've rendered this out, and you'll see that it's very nice UI and that it gives you the ability to see a before and after of the scene. So we have our summer scene here, and on the right hand side, you see that we have some snow that has been added to the balconies. The person on the outside has a coat. There's some fun elements. It's given you very a bluish tint to the architecture, which reflects kind of the color and the environment around. So it's pretty fun to see what's possible using that tool. And this is a full look at that. So this is a very the snow has already passed. It's built up a couple of inches, and so this is the experience that we're getting. Now, might want to continue to edit, or there might be different elements that you want to remove from this. And so I think this is something that I'm very excited to explore to kind of see how I can utilize this and see, what elements I need to adjust. So just wanted to showcase that. So I'm getting towards the end of my demo. So actually, I'll go ahead and let this be a Q&A moment to see if there's any questions that have popped up. If not, we can start to explore a little bit of the AI elements together. So I'll jump over and look and see if there are any questions. Feel free to add them to the chat. And if not, then I may just continue going and talking about some of the additional features that I think are really beneficial to users. So I don't see anything yet. And if, as I'm going, if you do have any specific questions, I do want to note that you can email the sales team at archvision.com and we will do our best to address your questions, whether it's from our team or reaching out to make sure we get the experts to answer your questions. So at this point, I'll go ahead and switch back to D5. And you'll see here now that it has rendered out, we can have the real-time use case of seeing what options or what was provided with the AI elements here. So this is such a nice way of being able to look at the before and after elements, and then you can always download that here, the results down on the right-hand side of the screen. So one thing that I noticed as a someone coming from a power user from a different tool was I really loved how much I could customize the UI. So, for instance, like as I was working through these assets, you really start to have a lot of different options of how you're filtering through some of the assets, how you can see the thumbnails. There are some different, shortcuts for keyboards that you can set up for yourself. So I think one thing that I really valued and enjoyed out of this was truly how I could start to customize this for myself. So if you are working a lot inside of the program, you have the ability to make sure that you're working at it to the best of your ability. So I'm going to go over here to the left-hand side, select this preference window, and you'll see that with the shortcuts here, I always like to review these as I'm learning new programs. I think, it takes some muscle memory to get a lot of that information. But here you also have the ability to switch them yourself. So if you wanted to customize it, you do have the ability to do that here. Now, additionally, there are some team elements. So that's something that I won't talk about today, but did want to bring to your awareness. So there is the multi-user element of D5 that's available to you as a team membership, and that can be something that's very helpful for you as a team. I know sometimes when you dive into visualization, you are sometimes a designer working on your own and just need to get an image out for some design options, or perhaps you are, working with a team towards a competition, and everyone kind of needs to have a touch on it. And so that is an element in which you are able to share assets, share projects, and really work together. So there are some resources on the D5 website if you'd like to explore this and take a look at this a little bit further to see how this can benefit you and your team. So this is one of the elements that I think also affects D5 above. So it gives you a collaboration that is very helpful for getting renderings out the door. I know sometimes it can be very stressful in those last moments. So knowing that you can get in and adjust projects as needed is a great tool, and I think benefit to creators all around. So another thing that I really enjoyed was the amount of assets that come with D5. So I encourage you to take a look at, kind of all of the different elements. Let me just clear out my filter here so you can see everything. All of the different, particle effects that are available to you. I know that there, are, different assets that each program kind of comes with different assets, but it was nice to kind of see some of these particle elements here. They really allowed the projects to come to life with just like the touch of interactiveness and animation that take it to the next level. So I think that is something also that really made it go to the next level. And same with the terrain. So, the terrain, I might not have access to a height map myself, so it was nice to be able to pull some that were already set up for you. So that was something that I really enjoyed working with as I was exploring D5 as well. So throughout throughout my experience working with D5, I found not for this project, but actually for a different project I was exploring, the AI atmosphere match was also something that I think was very helpful. So see if I can use this. I will use this ArchVision. So Here we have I've taken a current snapshot of the project that we have. I am using a LabWork ArchVision image here. So this is something where in while you're working, while you're visualizing, you're typically pulling precedent photos or have mood boards for the type of the vibe that you want for your image. And so this will allow you to get a head start on that. So you can take some of those reference images and then it's going to generate a look and feel for you inside of D5. So it's been let's see what this does. This might be a lot to do since I have it being in the snow. So this is quite a big change. So I'm not sure if it'll work. I'm doing this live, but okay, here we go. We're getting us a little bit of the blue sky in the background, some greens. I know that it takes a little bit of time while it's we'll get here in a moment once it hits its full size. But this is some of the stuff that's just, super exciting to see. So I think that, as creators are looking at AI to be a tool that, assists or makes workflows more efficient, and allows people to focus on the things that are really important. So perhaps, setting up that first look and feel like with the HDRI here, it's going to get me something close to that. And then I can take time to work on the architecture and how the light's hitting it to improve it a little bit further. So with this, I mean, this image, I still have my snowy terrain out in the background, so they would need a little bit of work, but this is super nice to use for when you're first exploring and wanting to get started. I know that, that sometimes can take a little bit, and when you want to quickly show even a colleague, an image without taking too much time to set up the environment, that can be very helpful. So with that, I will go ahead and close out here. I'll just bring up my retro scene. Again, just for fun. And I covered that much quicker than I had anticipated. So I think I'm about time on my end. I'll see if there are any other questions. Say, Corey, Kelsey, I don't know if you guys have anything you want to add in. If not, I can wrap it up here. And I would encourage each of you to explore D5, take a moment to play around with the AI elements. I think they are going to be really empowering to creators in the future. And I hope that you're able to quickly enable them into your own workflows if this is something that's interesting to you. We will be here and we're continuing to put out, many of these digital events so that we can keep you guys updated on the latest features and have a video that you can return to if needed. And sometimes it's just nice to see how someone else works throughout the program. So as I mentioned, I'm a new user to D5. There's probably a lot of different workflows or different ways that you can use the tool to benefit you. But I hope that it shows you just how quickly, I am able to, or we as creators are able to jump in and get something very fun and beautiful at the same time inside of D5. So with that, I will say farewell. I want to thank you all for taking your time to join us, and we will see you at our next digital event. So thank you.